What's up, everybody? My camera is being weird. There we go. I had unplugged it, but now I fixed it. Alright. Gonna watch the Trump's address tonight. I started a few minutes early, so I just felt like it. So there may not be anybody here yet, but that's okay. I'm just gonna get the video set up. I don't really know where to watch it at, to be honest, but I'm sure I can figure it out. Let's see. Let's see. Maybe it's on X. What? Thursday? Wait, is this just like not right? I'm seeing a community note that says it's for Thursday. Thursday? Are you kidding me? Thursday. Okay, well, Hey, Sandro. I was gonna watch Trump's address, and all the posts I saw said it was gonna be at 9 p.m. Eastern, but they left out the part that said it was Thursday. So, here, I'll even show you. Just so you know, it's not my inability to read. Okay, here's the post I originally saw. Probably one of these Kalshi ones or something. Trump to address nation at 9 p.m. And I saw some other ones like that. But then look, they had to put a community note. It's scheduled for Thursday. Oh, thanks. Great to know. Okay, so I won't do that then. But since I'm already here, let's see. I have a couple things I could look at. I thought this was weird. I wonder if I can actually read this article or not. Is it going to let me? Looks like it. The AI apocalypse is already here? Oh. I had no idea. I don't have my other monitor hooked up, so I'm going to have to make do with one screen. But it's not a big deal because I don't need to see myself on the OBS thing. But hey, what's up, Sandro? This looks pretty interesting. Hey, Owen. Now, you've commented half hour early because of Grump. Yes, okay. I thought you were commenting like, hey, what the heck? It's half an hour early than normal. I'm like, then how would you even know to get on? But that's why context is important. Because then when you made your second comment, I understood. Yeah, well, news update, Owen. Trump's not addressing the nation tonight. It's going to be on Thursday, so. The original posts I saw didn't say that. They just said addressing the nation at 9. And then, oh, you get notified I'm on? Oh, I didn't know that. That's cool. I didn't even know that. That's a possibility. It sucks though. Trump's not going to be on tonight because I was all ready and prepared with a beverage. Look what I've got tonight. Fresh raw milk. Well, fresh meaning like a day old, but. Owen said raw milk. How did you know it was raw? How did you know it was raw? Just from that. I mean, you don't know. I could have gone and bought some milk. I watched a really cool interview today with. So I had to go pick up. I had to go pick up a cow at the cow barn, as they call it. It's the genetics place where they do the breeding stuff for us. And I took a cow and I picked up a cow. Although the cow that I took was not ready yet. We just thought she might be, so probably going to take her back next week. So anyways, I picked up a cow. And so it's kind of a drive because the genetics place it's a little ways away. It's not just a quick drive. So I had a chance to listen to some things. What is this? No, I'll just show you this thing first. I don't know if I'll get into any of the stuff I listened to. It was like a 2-hour interview. But it was the guy who wrote the y'all remember the AI 2027 paper? It was like one of the guys who wrote it. It was actually pretty cool. And his timelines have actually been pretty accurate, surprisingly. And he thinks that we could have ASI, artificial superintelligence, by 2027, 2028. Now, I think he said like 2029 or sooner. But he's kind of more conservative, actually, on his estimates. And he says, talking to people that work at these labs, as they call them, they're saying that his estimates are too conservative, which is crazy. Because he said before, when they first did the paper, everyone said that they were being unrealistic. Like, it was not going to happen on the timeline they said. It was way further out. But now he's saying that he's being told he's too conservative, which is kind of weird. But I don't know if you guys remember that when we went through it. It was probably it wasn't on the stream. It was in a different context. But we looked at that AI 2027 paper. Maybe we'll look at that later. But it was on Diarrhea of a CEO. And it was a pretty cool interview. The guy used to work at OpenAI. I didn't know that. I did not know that. So the guy used to work at OpenAI. And he said he kind of saw that everybody was being a little bit reckless. Yes, you heard me correctly, Owen. That's the name of the podcast, Diarrhea of a CEO. How do you not know that? What was the other thing I was going to show you? I just saw this. I'm all over the place tonight, guys. I got home kind of late. Not that long ago, like maybe an hour ago. Got the cows unloaded. Took a break for a minute. Poured myself some milk. Fed the horses. Fed the pigs. Let's see. Oh, check this out. Well, I gotta keep checking to make sure you guys can see what I see. Yeah. High earner families are ditching traditional schools for life skills and AI. Yeah, of course. But let me show you this. So, first of all, I'll play the video in a second. But the post is from Sam Altman reposting a Claude AI post ad. I don't know, is it supposed to be an ad? You can decide after we watch it. But I do not like this mic setup. I always feel like I'm way too far away. But he says, I thought this was satire. Kept looking for the handle to be spelled Claude AI or something, like with a 1. Meaning, I guess he means like the Twitter handle. Like, you know, this can't be from the real the Claude account. I don't really know why he's saying that. He says, hard questions are great, but only if we deem you worthy enough to not slightly downgrade you or even get access at all. So he's talking shit. So let's see what all the fuss is about. So this is an ad from... Oh, actually, hold on. Give me 1 second. Let me switch my audio over. I think I forgot to do that. Hopefully it'll be a good volume. Let's see.
Can AI be trusted?
Who's going to hit the brakes if we need to?
How do we really ensure that what we're aiming to achieve really does benefit the majority of people?
If it ends up taking like almost all the jobs, then what does it mean to work?
Well, wait a minute. Why do we have to have this stuff?
If a machine can pretend to care better than I can actually care, how do we draw the line there?
If we all had a voice in it, then I feel like it would be better.
Could AI help people stop feeling misunderstood?
Could AI help me build more connections in the community?
Can AI help me be a better teacher, a better mom?
Maybe it'll cure some great things, you know?
Things that we're not even at the cusp of understanding yet.
Will it create a group of people that ask more questions?
What if we started to be more human again?
We don't want to lose the most beautiful parts of life.
Any reactions? First of all, what is that track they're playing? Because I really like that. Could you just tell us that? It is weird though. Oopsie. Sorry guys. It is weird though because what does the ad mean exactly? It'd be like a company that makes bombs showing the bombs blasting up houses contrasted with images of people not being blasted up. World peace, people loving each other, sharing, and people in the background being like, what if we didn't have war? What if bombs could not be used to kill people? And like they make bombs. It's weird. In that interview I watched on Diarrhea of a CEO with that guy, I forget the guy's name, the guy who was being interviewed, but he was, the interviewer, I forget the guy. What's the interviewer's name on that show? Actually, I don't remember. Guy. I think his name is Diarrhea. That's why it's called Diarrhea of a CEO, I think. But anyways, he's got that he probably has that cyclosporiasis issue. He's probably been eating too much Taco Bell lettuce. But in any case, he asked the guy he was interviewing, this former OpenAI guy, who, well, I don't want to get into all that, but he didn't sign the non-disparagement clause. And I don't know if you guys remember this, there was this whole scandal where people were leaving OpenAI. It's actually crazy now that I realize the connection there. Because this was like maybe a year or two ago. I don't know if you tell me if you guys remember this, where people were leaving OpenAI and they had made them sign non-disparagement, non-disclosure, or non-disparagement clauses, and then an NDA so that they couldn't even say that they had signed a non-disparagement thing. And somebody refused to sign it. So they were saying, apparently in the contract, it was like, all right, you get your severance, but you don't get we can take back your equity if we want, if you don't sign it. It became a big scandal, and then OpenAI was like, oh, what are these non-disparagement clauses doing in these contracts? Like, how did those get there? No, we're not doing that, guys. Yeah, no, it's fine. You can disparage us. It's not a big deal. But the guy actually was like, no, fuck that. I'm not signing it. So anyways, he's one of the guys who wrote the AI 2027 paper, which is crazy. I had not made that connection before. But the interviewer, yeah, Steve Bartlett, I don't know. Is it all one word, Steve Bartlett? Like he wrote it there? I didn't know that. Who names your kids Steve Bartlett? Anyways, he asked him, what about this stuff with OpenAI? I'm sorry, with Anthropic. They seem to be at least being willing to talk about the negative potential downsides of this super intelligence that's being sought after. And the guy was like, yeah, they do seem to be willing, strangely enough, to talk about it. But now they've become like the face of the doomers. And as you can see from Sam Altman, he's kind of like, hey guys, don't fucking talk shit about what we're doing here. Like, come on. But it's weird because the guy was like, but I don't think anybody should trust any of these people with that much power. And he went into a lot of detail. Maybe I'll play some of it later. We'll see. But damn, I got to find out what this track is. That's probably the most important thing. Sandro says it was made by AI. I really doubt that. I really doubt it. Is this a Robert Glasper production? Or at least him on the keys? I'm going to look up Robert Glasper. Is that a... No, not... I always do like the dictionary lookup. Search Google. There we go. Robert Glasper, American pianist and record producer. I never heard of this guy. Robert Glasper. I wonder if that's him. What is the track on the new Claude ad? All caps? No, it's not that. Are they really using all caps by Mad Villain? It's a different ad they're talking about, but no, it's not that one. No, there was a piano track on the new ad released July 9. Is this a published track? Come on, just tell me the name of the track. No? Are you kidding me? Commissioned exclusively by the commercial? I just want the track. I really liked it.
Can AI be trusted?
Who's going to hit the brakes if we need to?
How do we really ensure that what we're aiming to achieve really does benefit the majority of people?
If it ends up taking like almost all the jobs, then what does it mean to work?
Well, wait a minute. Why do we have to have this stuff? If a machine can pretend to care better than I can actually care, how do we draw the line there?
If we all had a voice in it, then I feel like it would be better.
Could AI help people stop feeling misunderstood?
Could AI help me build more connections in the community?
Can AI help me be a better teacher, a better mom?
Maybe it'll cure some great things, you know?
Things that we're not even at the cusp of understanding yet.
Will it create a group of people that ask more questions?
What if we started to be more human again?
We don't want to lose the most beautiful parts of life.
It honestly, if that's a song that they commissioned for this ad, they should just stop doing the AGI stuff and just make jazz music, because that was good. I was like hoping it was a track I could look up, because I want to learn to play it. I guess, I mean, I don't even trust the AI's answer. It could just be bullshit. There's no way it's AI. I mean, if it is, dude, that would be crazy. I would never guess in a million years it actually was an AI track. Sounds like a real piece. Well, I'm not going to get any answers there. Okay, well, that's what it says. What is this? Oh, no. How do you know? How do you know? Oh, the ad was produced by an ad agency. Mother use It's called Mother. I've heard of that before. Mother utilizes dedicated commercial music houses such as King Lear Music. Okay. Interesting. Kind of surprised. If you'd like, I can look out for updates. Or I can find similar jazzy piano recommendations for you. I want you to find another jazz song exactly like the one in the ad. Blue and Green by Miles Davis. Written by Bill Evans. Peace, Peace. I mean, I was kind of being a little bit sarcastic, but it's giving me some pretty cool recommendations. I think I might need to check this out. Also, for everybody who joined early expecting us to watch the Trump talk, apparently it's actually on Thursday. So the posts that I saw did not say that. All right, let's check this out. Peace, Peace. Says it was unrehearsed. Improvisation. While listening to jazz, I recommend having a nice cold glass of raw milk. What better way to stand for peace than by listening to a piece of jazz while drinking raw milk? It's good for your bones. And probably other things too. I'll play in the background. I don't know if you can still hear it, but... Okay, so... Where was that other post? I'll just read this one first, because I thought it was interesting. If you're suffering from cyclopsoriasis, get yourself a nice glass of raw milk. It acts as a tracer in your digestive system. If you drink it in the morning, and it has a white explosive color, at least you know that your digestive system is working. Okay, Bill. You're kind of playing over me here. Come on, man. What are you doing? So, this was an interesting post. For those of you who don't know, Lindsey Graham, speaking of peace, when I think of peace, the first thing that pops into my mind is Lindsey Graham, one of the strongest proponents of peace in the world. He was always looking for peaceful resolutions to things. Here's Lindsey Graham.
Daddy, Daddy, watch me twirl. Daddy, 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 watch me twirl. Daddy, 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 watch me twirl.
Katie says it's too loud. I can barely hear it, but maybe that's just the contrast or the difference in the volume levels. Alright, I turned it down for you. Here's Lindsey Graham on some peace proposals.
So when we were faced with destruction as a nation after Pearl Harbor, fighting the Germans and the Japanese, we decided to end the war by bombing Hiroshima and Nagasaki with nuclear weapons. That was the right decision. Give Israel the bombs they need to end the war they can't afford to lose, and work with them to minimize casualties. Well, can I say this? Why is it okay for America to drop 2 nuclear bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki to end their existential threat war? Why was it okay for us to do that? I thought it was okay. To Israel, do whatever you have to do to survive as a Jewish state. So when...
I mean... You see what I mean, guys? Like... What did Bill Evans do for peace other than make this boring piano track? Lindsey Graham was out there every day pushing for peace.
What did we do in World War II? Did we think 1 minute about starving the Germans? Did we bomb every city into smithereens? This is a threat to Israel's survival.
And then they flattened Gaza.
Just flattened. We flattened Berlin. We flattened Tokyo. Were we wrong to drop an atomic bomb to end the Japanese reign of terror? Were we? So, in my view, if I were Israel, I would have probably done it the same way.
End the war by bombing.
So, he died. And immediately the conspiracy theorists are out. They're saying it was an aortic dissection due to arteriosclerotic cardiovascular disease, an aorta rupture linked to the hardening of the arteries. Somebody says, regarding conspiracy theories already surfacing, that Lindsey Graham was murdered by Russians. Here is Super Grok's latest info on his cause of death. Aortic dissection due to arteriosclerotic cardiovascular disease, not a poison-tipped dart, plutonium trace, etc. Michael Shermer, the top skeptic. He is so skeptical that he is skeptical of the skeptics and of skepticism in general. Okay. But I liked Eric Weinstein, his response. He says, yeah, nah. Here's what I think is happening instead. I haven't wanted to say this, but there is a problem with organized skepticism, even more than conspiracy theories. My claim is that from hard evidence, not one of the following is an extraordinary claim. So he says these are not crazy, basically, these claims. The CIA not only gathers intelligence, but kills people, violates rights, gaslights, and evades scrutiny and oversight. The U.S. hides bioweapons programs. The U.S. engages in regime change through charity and aid programs. We in the U.S. medically experiment on our own citizens without consent. We run drugs. The DOJ and FBI are actively and flagrantly obstructing justice. Putin easily kills people outside Russia. We conspire and use academics for sheepskin washing our dirty work. U.S. newspapers actively avoid reporting stories about which the U.S. population is desperate for information. They also carry extremely non-neutral biases. We actively conspired to hide open and obvious presidential dementia. And by extension, there are massive conspiracies at every level below that one, at a mind-boggling level. There are special access programs that are about real and or fake non-human intelligence, UFOs, etc. The last thing we need is skeptics telling us the bar for such conspiracies and or governmental accountability requires extraordinary evidence. Somehow the skeptics have it totally wrong. After Watergate, Iran-Contra, COVID, church pike committees, etc., these are no longer extraordinary claims to raise. They are ordinary claims. I have no idea whether Lindsey Graham died of natural causes. but I can tell you the difference between a skeptic and a scientist looking at the claim. A skeptic's first move is to lurch for the budding conspiracy and try to pull the idea of foul play off the table first, and then to require a mountain of evidence to consider such a thing. A scientist firmly grabs the skeptic's hand and forces him to put the hypothesis back on the table and says, you're not in charge here. There's a history, and I'm going to need to see something other than references to null hypotheses, William of Ockham, and Carl Sagan, because that's not how science and investigation works. Time for extra scientific skepticism to die, I think. Covert operations and conspiracies are difficult enough to document as it is. We don't need skeptics as self-appointed referees. I thought that was a pretty cool little statement there. Then he says, and if you want my speculation, I'd guess with low conviction that Lindsey Graham died of natural causes. Yeah, that's what I would guess too, but, I'm not going to rule out that something happened. But at the same time, I don't know. Okay, so I saw this post. I thought it was weird. Sam Altman and Dario Amodei. Do you think he ever just asked people to call him Love of God? Is that what that means? Amodei? I love God. I'm pretty sure that's what it means. Let's look it up. Google Translate. Well, there you have it, folks. It means I love God. Weird. So, what does musk mean? A strong, sweet, and earthly smelling substance secreted by the male musk deer. The word musk has an interesting origin story, tracing back to the Sanskrit word muska, which means testicle. If I had a following on X, I could probably make a viral post right now. Don't you think? Wow. Musk is sometimes used to describe the strong natural scent of human sweat or bodily arousal. So you've got the three people vying for dictator of the world. One named Musk. What kind of a viral post? Oh, Katie's trying to steal my idea right now. You know what? Katie actually already has a following on Instagram, so she's trying to tap into this this. I was gonna say well house, but I think the term would be storehouse. But I have a well house, so this well house of ideas up here, this idea factory up here. The post, I don't know what the post would be exactly, but it would be something about Elon Musk. His last name is, so the three people vying for dictator of the world would be Elon Musk, whose last name is Musk, which there's got to be a joke in there somewhere about testicles. You probably have to give some background on the word. So he's the guy who has the balls. And he's the scent. What is the purpose of it? It's a base note. It provides depth, longevity, and stabilizing element to lighter fragrances. Like the muskrat, otter, alligator, and civet cat, they secrete comparable pungent substances to mark territory or attract mates. To mark territory. To mark out the territory of space, perhaps? And then you've got Dario Amodei, whose name literally means I love God. And the Pope is totally on his musks, if you know what I mean, his musk melons. And then you've got Sam Altman, a gay man, who is the alternative man. I don't know. There's something in there. Somebody with a stronger sense of writing posts than me can probably make something out of that. Let's ask the AI. If I were to make a viral post about the 3 men seeking to become dictator of the world well, I'm gonna use the AI just to know what not to do. Building AGI Altman Musk, and I'm gonna do it, Katie. You can't stop me. All right, let's see what it says. Here we go, guys. Here's the post. This is trash. This is absolute trash. So don't do that. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to make this post. Why this format goes viral. It instantly reframes a complex technical topic. Do you guarantee it will go viral? No. Well, never mind. Yeah, no, that it didn't even understand the point I was making. I assumed it would have some context, but I guess I didn't give it everything. I'm sure you can come up with something better than that. No, I know you can. Well, there you go. But yeah, Amodei, that's kind of weird, right? Sam Altman and Amodei are working toward the abolition of capitalism. Well, so is Elon Musk. Hold on a second.
Working will be optional. Working at all will be optional. Like a hobby. Pretty much.
And that would be because of increased productivity, meaning people do not have to work?
I mean, look.
And I was like,
what is this video? Let's see what he says here.
AI is really still digital. Ultimately, AI can improve the productivity of humans who build things with their hands or do things with their hands, like literally welding, electrical work, plumbing, anything that's physically moving atoms, like cooking food or farming or like anything that's physical. Those jobs will exist for a much longer time. But anything that is digital, which is like just someone at a computer doing something, AI is going to take over those jobs like lightning. AI...
right now, the claim right now is that they're actually seeing an uptick in jobs because of AI. Because of where the AI tools are at right now, companies are able to get more productivity out of their workers, apparently. I guess in some contexts. So they're hiring more people because they can get a lot more productivity. But that's assuming that they actually build the ASI AGI. That's a short-lived thing. And nobody was claiming that at this point where the AI is at, that it was going to take people's jobs. So they're using it right now to push this point of like, see, look, actually the companies are hiring more than ever because it's increasing people's productivity. So they want more workers because like you can do a lot more. And yeah, that may be the case, but that's not the end goal of these companies. The end goal is to create ASI. And that interview I was watching that I was talking about earlier with the guy from OpenAI who left, who then wrote that AI 2027 paper, was saying, if you really look at it, what they're trying to do is these 3 companies, primarily the ones on top, OpenAI, Anthropic, and SpaceX, you know, SpaceX may not be like the top AI company, but they're building a lot of the infrastructure that the other guys don't have. OpenAI has way more compute than Anthropic, but Anthropic seems to be on top right now, which is weird. But anyways, what he was talking about is the problem is by the time the AI reaches a point where it's, let's say, ASI, super intelligence, meaning it can do any job better than any human, it'll be too late to do anything about it. And he says because the way that they're doing it is they would, like, what these companies are focusing on is building the ability for the AI to self-improve. So yes, they're releasing products in the meantime and tools in the meantime to the public so they can have cash flow and they can have a reason to exist as a company. But what they're doing internally is they're the thing can already do the coding, but now they're building out the ability for it to do its own research. It's already creating a lot of the training data. So it's not totally self-recursive yet, but that's what they're going for. And he said by the time that, he said like the goal of these big companies like Anthropic, OpenAI, and SpaceX, maybe SpaceX is a perhaps different case, but I don't know because they're still doing the AI stuff. But I would say it definitely applies to Anthropic and OpenAI. Probably it applies to X2, just it's not as obvious. But first of all, again, this is this guy's opinion, but he says the way these guys are looking at it is they don't trust any of the other two. So these three guys, none of them trust the other two to be the dictator of the world. So they want to get there first. And once you can get to a super intelligence that's self-improving, that's faster and smarter than any human at anything, then you get to the government, then you put it in the military, and then bam, you're the de facto dictator of the world. So they don't trust each other. As you can see, I just played that thing from Sam Altman talking shit about Claude. He doesn't like Dario. He certainly doesn't like Elon. Elon certainly doesn't like Sam Altman. I don't know what he thinks about Dario. I don't really see him talk about him that much, but maybe I just missed it. But the point is, the general point the guy was making, though, is as they build these self-recursive systems that eventually become super intelligent, then once that's released, he's like, then they can control robots. Why wouldn't they then have it replace everything? Because at that point, they control everything. No more jobs. They do everything. You're just basically at their whim. You know, you're at their service, really. You have to use their stuff. You have to buy their things. And his point was you won't necessarily see AI replacing a lot of jobs until it's at this ASI level that they're producing internally. And then once it goes more like public and live, then it will very quickly learn to do all the jobs, and it'll be like very quick, which I think makes a lot of sense, assuming that this is even an actual possible thing at all. Katie said, did I see the Jeffrey Ladish interview? I don't think so. I don't. I see a few different ones popping up. I don't know if you have a specific one. I never seen this person before. Is that a man or a woman? Oh, it's a guy. Okay, he has long hair, so it kind of looked like a woman at first. I see a bunch of different links. I know you can't see what I'm looking at, but it just popped up in a different thing. Okay, I'll look it up on here. Yeah, and hold on. Let me find that interview. Maybe I'll play a couple clips from this other one real quick.
Leaving OpenAI.
Oops, hold on. I clicked on ad by accident. Let me put it over here.
Leaving OpenAI. Did you ever?
Let me see if I can find some good highlights.
What about jobs?
Yeah. So I think I'm excited to at some point get into the new thing, which is the more optimistic, positive vision, and that will have a lot to say about this, because in the prediction, in AI 2027, by the time everyone loses their jobs, there are worse things happening, or like it's kind of like too late by that point. But yes, like just think about it. If the companies do manage to build super intelligence, then by definition, they're going to be able to take almost all the jobs or all the jobs, right? Because it's better, faster.
See, and that's what seems so disingenuous about, I always use the Mark Andreessen as an example because he posts a lot and he gives his opinion a lot, like very like freely. But like whenever somebody posts about, oh, it's going to take our jobs, he'll post stuff like, kind of being, like, oh, these are just people exaggerating stuff, right? And he'll post something about like jobs have actually gone up and he'll say, oh, look how interesting that is. But again, are they building ASI or not? Like, which is it? So how are you going to like promote Nick Land? How are you going to promote Elon Musk? And then be like, oh, you guys acting like AI is taking everybody's jobs. See, you're just exaggerating. You're just doomers. And it's like, but are you trying to build super intelligence? Because if you are, isn't this the argument that it will do everything? That's the definition of it, right? So it's just such a weird, it's so blatant.
So cheaper than the best humans at everything.
And that, again, the timeline is by the end of sort of 2030, you think superintelligence might arrive. I'm trying to think about when we could start to see job displacement in the economy.
We're already starting to see a little bit of it now, but not very much.
Why?
Because the AIs aren't good enough yet. Like they're impressive, but they're not just a drop-in replacement for a human.
That's all it is. They still need people to direct them.
Worker in almost any field.
And do you think that'll be sudden?
I think it'll be sudden because of the intelligence explosion dynamics, or recursive self-improvement dynamics. So you could imagine a different world where it's gradual, and this is maybe how it is in a lot of science fiction. Is the AIs gradually get better at a bunch of things, and they gradually automate like this one industry, like pharma, and then they automate like steering drones, then they automate like driving cars or something like that. But what's different about the real world is that the companies have converged on this strategy of automating themselves first, automating the AI research process.
So this is like the key point here that I see as really significant. He's explaining that the AI companies are not focused on automating everything else right now. Do you understand that? They're not trying to automate everything else. So sorry, I'm just trying to get my chat window back up here. If the argument is, oh, look, we were promised that it was going to automate everything, and that's not happening. See, you guys are liars. It's just tools that are making humans more productive. Yeah, that's what the AI labs are releasing because it helps them make money. So their goal right now is not to automate a job. There may be people out there who are doing that, like using these tools and trying to figure out how you can use it to automate some particular thing and then sell that as a product or something to somebody who they can run a one-man company that used to require a lot of people. That's kind of happening in some places, I'm guessing. But by and large, you still need people. And like he's saying here, it's just because the tools themselves they're not agentic enough yet. Like there are agentic AI tools out there now, but they don't really fully replace anything yet. But look at how much they have done already. Now, this is obviously a projection because I don't think anyone knows if there really is an actual real possibility of artificial super intelligence. I don't know. You probably don't really need that for it to go poorly for everybody. I mean, you don't, because it's kind of like social media is not artificial superintelligence, but it's clearly damaged humanity. It's made people less, it's made them dumber. Not that in itself only, but it's definitely contributed to it. Anyways, back to the point. The AI companies are not trying to automate all the jobs. They're trying to automate themselves. So think about it. He said Anthropic, like a few years ago, I don't remember the exact number he said, but it was like Anthropic's not even that old. But a few years back, they were doing like $1 billion in revenue a year. And then a few years later, they're doing 60 billion. And he was just saying like he was speculating it's probably one of the fastest growths of a company in history. And I mean, they haven't even been around that long, right? But my point is, if they can achieve automating that company, or OpenAI or SpaceX or whatever, because like another person was making this point, I forget what interview it was, that all the data centers that X is building, you think of each processor as like replacing a worker eventually, right? So they're wanting to automate their entire system with AI. That's what they're working on. Does that make sense? It's not that they're trying to automate your job. They're trying to automate their company. If you can build an AI super intelligence, whatever is required to automate a company that's worth 800 billion, $1 trillion, what else could it not automate? Right? And then you add to that, he said like what about the welders and the plumbers and stuff? But if you have an AI, if it's hypothetically possible, that is that intelligent to do what I just described, it'll figure out how to self-improve the robots a lot faster. It'll invent new types of plumbing, and it'll have access to resources. Like a lot of probably what's hard to automate about something like plumbing or welding is because the tools are made for human beings. And a lot of the techniques and the materials, but the way things are constructed, they're constructed because it was like human beings figuring out how we can make something. But if you have an AI, reinventing the wheel, so to speak, in a way that works for robots, like your house might look different. The walls might be built differently. Maybe you wouldn't put studs in the same way, or I don't know what the particular thing that would have to change is. But you can imagine, like for example, in our house, I think our house is built in the, actually I don't know, like 50s, 60s, something like that, I'm guessing. But the original pipes, the water plumbing pipes, they're copper, and they were built into the slab, into the foundation. So in order to fix the pipe, if it gets a leak in it, you'd have to break up the slab to dig up the pipe. And nowadays, they just put the piping in the walls, and it's like this plastic PEX, kind of like a flexible PVC type of thing. And if you want to replace it, you just go into the wall and pull it out and put a new one in. So you could think of AI and robotics figuring out ways of doing it that are different. Because you say, well, a robot can't do plumbing because it can't get under the sink and do all this stuff like a human can do. First of all, that's probably not true. Eventually it would be able to. But even if it couldn't, well, we've invented new ways of doing plumbing, so you could invent newer ways of doing plumbing. So anyways, that's just my little rant on that. But this is the point he's making. They're going to automate the big AI companies first. And once that intelligence is capable enough to do that, it could then very quickly learn how to do all the other things that people are doing.
And so if they're allowed to continue with this strategy, we're not going to see the robotaxis and like the plumber robots and the lawyer AIs. We're not going to see that sort of like broad diffusion of AI into the economy happening first, because that's not what they're focusing on first. They're focusing on automating themselves, automating their own research so that they can do everything that they're doing faster. And they want that to sort of get going and get to, very high levels of intelligence, very high levels of general intelligence, and then deploy more out to the economy, right? So by the time...
And it makes sense why they're doing that, because each of these companies want to be the first to have that powerful AI. So they're not trying to slowly but surely automate different things in the world. They don't care about that right now. They're just going all in, trying to create this super intelligence internally so that they can be the first one to do it, so they can get that pole position and control everything. Whoops. I accidentally clicked ahead. How did I do that?
Taking some jobs but not other jobs, and they're helping to make better weapons that the US government can use to like do its arms race with China and so forth. And that's why they're able to get so much power so quickly, is because the government and the corporations and so forth trust them and is deliberately deploying them into all of these positions because it thinks that things are fine. But because these things are neural nets, you can't just like look inside and see what it's really thinking. You can't really tell.
I think this is a really important point, because unlike software where we can look at the code and see what's going on theoretically, with AI you're saying that we don't know why it's making the decisions that it's making, because we can't get inside.
One note of optimism is that it doesn't necessarily have to be that way. Like, there's a subfield of machine learning called mechanistic interpretability, and a broader subfield called interpretability more generally, that's trying to solve that problem and trying to take these trained artificial neural nets and piece them apart and understand like how the information is flowing and how the decisions are being made, so to speak. The problem is just it's a very inherently hard problem. If you have 10 trillion connections to look at, you can look at any particular group of them and be like, okay, so this is how like this particular connection works. But like, how do you get a sense of the whole? You know, how do you get a sense of like what's happening at a high level? And the answer is, well, it might be impossible. But people are working on it and they are making progress. And if they can make enough progress, then we're in a very different and much brighter world. I think that it would be much less likely for us to get into those loss of control scenarios if we could just actually see what our AIs were thinking and why and how at any given time, right?
Yeah.
But then the other problem is you have these companies are deliberately, what's the word? Obscuring things, right? And putting guardrails on them, right? So you don't actually know what it really thinks, at least as a consumer. Okay, so I wanted to check this article out. The AI apocalypse is already here, so says Compact Mag, Gregory Conti. Americans do not care for artificial intelligence. Recent polling shows that their attitudes mostly range from ambivalence to horror. Some observers have suggested that opposition to AI is due to poor PR from industry leaders. If tech titans hadn't been so convinced that boasting of their apocalyptic powers was the best way to raise capital, the argument goes, then the American public would be on board. Chinese public opinion, for instance, is considerably more favorable. But these discrepancies can be read another way. The taste for liberty is not independent of culture and history. China has not known freedom for some time, but citizens of the U.S. have long experience of it. It's a testament to Americans' retention of the spirit of liberty that they mistrust AI so much. The various gripes against AI are manifestations of a largely inarticulate intuition that its widespread adoption cannot be reconciled with a free society. Americans are groping toward the realization that even if AI does not end life on Earth, it will destroy our way of life. In order to make the case against AI, one need only quote the industry's leaders. They have foretold the creation of a permanent underclass. Okay. Some New York Times article. Once AI agents, imminently they think, surpass us in all cognitive capacities, and have long warned that misaligned AI could even lead to the extinction of humanity. This is a far cry from anything America has seen from its captains of industry. Andrew Carnegie never promised to bring on the apocalypse. While industry leaders have softened their rhetoric of late, now disavowing the goal of complete human economic obsolescence, the major AI corporations remain officially committed to the development of artificial general intelligence, defined as an AI system that outperforms humans at most economically valuable work. Already, AI is outpacing what humans can do in many research areas. Okay, we know about that. It's impossible to know what will actually come to pass, but the extraordinary pace at which the technology is progressing. But given that, it would be foolish to underrate AI's disruptive capacity. The present moment is awash in schemes for regulating AI, some in radical ways. plans for partial nationalization of the AI companies endorsed by Steve Bannon, Bernie Sanders, Marsha Blackburn. Sketch regulations that will protect children, creators, conservatives, and communities. AOC proposed a moratorium on data center construction. The Trump admin's recent interventions to halt the distribution of new models seemed deemed to jeopardize national security, like in the case of Anthropic and then recently GPT 5.6. The escalating calls for an international treaty to ban superintelligence, these are all salutary signs of an awakening to the threats that AI poses. And yet, even these critics do not seem fully to reckon with the fact that AI portends not merely adverse economic or security impacts, but an irrevocable change in human life. Even now, AI is having deleterious effects that legislation to redistribute income or transfer control of the technology will do little to address. In particular, the most vocal skeptics have not fully reckoned with how anthropomorphic AI, models that mimic human personality, emotional states, patterns of thought, as currently commercially available generative AI models do, is currently in the process of unsettling human psychology and the social fabric. In other words, the present AI resistance speaks almost entirely of preventing risks still to come. But there are also good reasons to oppose generative AI as we already know it. It's necessary to oppose not just what AI may become and will likely do to the country, but what it is now and already doing to society. Okay. AI alters the relationship of human beings to their world by undermining our status as the distinctive bearers of language. No leader has yet reckoned with how astonishing it is that the only form of general intelligence in our world is no longer human intelligence. Nor contended with the truth that widespread interactions with machines endowed with conversational language abilities and superhuman cognitive power is the greatest social psychological experiment the species has ever run. Yeah, seriously. No organized movement against it has yet developed. Against it. The newness. The line of defense that likens AI to prior industrial advances and insists it is a normal technology requires adopting a patronizing attitude toward the industry's own leaders, who do not believe that they are merely bringing about a new industrial revolution. This is kind of like what I was trying to say earlier, but who instead think they are developing a technology that will cause an even far more reaching set of societal changes and indeed alter or displace human nature itself. The implicit suggestion is that the reason we should take a hands-off approach to AI is that the sector's own leading figures are so deluded as to misunderstand what they are up to. Exactly. That's why I don't understand the Mark Andreessen point, because it's like, come on, guys, what are you talking about? You act like we're developing ASI over here. But anyways, you should give us more money because we need to develop ASI. And you're like, so they're delusional. They think it's going to be the greatest thing ever. It's going to totally disrupt everything, but they're not right. So yeah, it's not going to be that great, guys. Let's not worry too much, but it'll be good. So keep giving them money. It's like, okay. Like when Elon Musk says we want to turn the sun into a computer, maybe we should take it at his word that that's what he actually wants to do. Claims based on analogies to the history of economic innovation. Man, this is actually a really good article because these are all points that I've seen. Claims based on analogies to the history of economic innovation function as a genre of moral blackmail and insinuation that having objections to AI is equivalent to wanting to give up on modern medicine or mass production. Fortunately, most Americans are able to make common sense distinctions that we managed to adapt in the past to railroads and factories and telephones. Gives us no reason to be sanguine about the effects of this unique technology on our society. Instead of deferring to novelty, it is our duty to citizens to evaluate new technologies with as much skepticism as we do new policy proposals. Unfortunately, AI critical argumentation has been flawed. The same progressives who led the charge against AI have recently embraced degrowth ideas and have even held up the very idea of economic progress as a pernicious myth. Claiming that AI will consume too many resources or cause unacceptable environmental harm reflects this tendency and is empirically overblown. Likewise, progressives have expressed their concerns about AI in an anti-capitalist idiom. All of this makes it easy for AI apologists to portray any critique of AI as issuing from a general hostility to business success and an insatiable appetite for regulation. Okay. I think that's a fair point. What is needed is an anti-AI movement that accords with broadly held American values. It would be wrong, though, to be too hard on progressives. They're coming to the fore. They do have a few resonant themes to play upon. Okay. Democracy simply cannot survive if the economic contributions of most people are rendered irrelevant. An eventuality which, sorry, these underlinings are throwing me off because they look like periods, because it doesn't underline the why. An eventuality which AI leaders foresee and have often seemed to revel in a world of robot soldiers of the sort some AI champions envision, in which the willingness of the average citizen to fight or die for his country is no longer necessary to the well-being of the state and national elites. There will be much less reason for governments to accord citizens' rights. Wow, that's an interesting argument. Along similar lines, artificial general intelligence creates a technological version of the resource curse. The theory that abundant natural resources can impede countries from democratizing and modernizing because they provide a source of revenue independent of the need to tax productive laboring citizens. That's an interesting way to put that. I never thought about that like that before. That the only reason the government's giving you a right to vote is because they're taxing you. And if they don't need to tax you, then they don't give a fuck what you have to say. Because as long as they need the money from you, they feel like they have to let you have a say. That's kind of like the American model, isn't it? No taxation without representation. Instead of just no taxation. That's actually really interesting. Does the idea of democracy currently, within everyone's minds, imply we have to be taxed? If citizens no longer have economic or military value, they'll become subjects. That's an interesting paradox. If AI swallows the rest of the economy, then either the AI companies will directly rule us, supplanting the traditional state. That's something I've been talking about a while now. Or this a prospect about which some of their promoters fantasize. Yeah, we talked about that. Or the state will be able to extract more revenue from the companies than from taxing citizens. In either case, normal people will have less of a claim on the concern of those who govern them. That's crazy, actually. I don't buy it, though, because, well, probably on the whole, companies do generate a lot more tax revenue than, well, do they, though? Because they're getting the money from people buying products. And they're buying products with the money that they've got from working. So even if it's technically companies contributing more in taxes to the government, it's still coming from the people being productive, or working and earning money. But they work and earn money at the companies. So who's really actually the ones paying the taxes? Moreover, while tech right leaders such as Elon Musaka, aka Testicle Musk, used to complain about censorship and cancel culture, it's clear already that an AI is a far more powerful technology for the suppression of unwanted expression than social media algorithms. Its ability to identify and track speakers across platforms will make anonymity impossible, and the inevitable encoding of bias and partiality into its models pose great threats to discursive freedom. If free speech is an integral part of democracy, then we have good reason to fear AI. Huh. Progressives are hardly responsible for the current administration's accelerationism. Ostensibly, America's Conservative Party is in power, but the Trump admin's firm embrace, at least until its recent haphazard actions, vis-a-vis and the export control thing on Anthropic. Raw milk. It's so funny now. I don't even think of it as raw milk. That's such a meme. That's such a psyop. It's just milk. Oh, but it's raw. It's like you eat raw stuff all the time, like a raw carrot. Just wash it. That's why I always wash my milk. Let's see. So the Trump admin's firm embrace of AI accelerationism shows how weak a political force conservatism really is in American life. Okay. While much of the American populace retains a kind of instinctive conservatism, this hardly registers on actual policy making. Social conservatives tend to be reluctant to empower the government, partly due to a justified perception that the public services and regulations skew leftward sooner or later. But without conservatives in the coalition, the possibility of an anti-AI movement with broad appeal is negligible. In our present context, a conservative antagonism to AI would be based entirely on it being a special technology. It would not be about the inherent evil of billionaires or about capitalism being a depraved system or a comprehensive distrust of new technologies that improve our lives. It would be grounded entirely in the disjunction between generative AI and other innovations, and on the unlikelihood with this sui generis technology advancing so quickly and unpredictably that suitable breaks and recalibrations could be applied at the critical juncture. The obvious conservative response to a technology whose downsides are unfathomable is suppression, not encouragement. Move fast and break things might be an ethos conservatism can accept when the object being broken is the B2B SaaS status quo. But it cannot do so when the objects in question are human intelligence, sociability, agency, and existence. And precisely because conservatives distrust the capacity of regulators to be effective and impartial, they cannot consistently take a wait-and-see approach to an innovation with such evident downsides. The perversity of government regulation is axiomatic to modern American conservatism. From this perspective, the hope that a future government can establish effective guardrails to AI deployment must look naive. The idea of letting artificial intelligence advance and then regulating it later is not Burkean prudence, but technocratic hubris. The appropriate conservative response is rejection, not regulatory fiddling. Oops. Anyone who thinks present society has so little to recommend it that it is worth taking existential gambles with AI is not a conservative. This is why the tech industry has been, for the most of its history, aligned to the left. Silicon Valley has long sought to transform the human condition, which it sees as riddled with imperfections that need to be overcome. Okay. As was well captured in a speech by the Berkeley statistician Will Fithian, the breakneck pace of AI development is already fraying the ties between parent and child, between established and rising cohorts. Young people have little idea if the preparations they have made for life will prove pertinent, and those further on in life who are supposed to occupy the position of mentors have little clue what wisdom they might offer to those on the come up. In academia, counsel to the next generation already seems futile. It is a psychic wound not to be able to pass on advice, and to doubt whether anything from your own experience will be relevant to the world your kids will inherit. AI progress has created the moral and psychological equivalent of trying to drive in a dense fog. By the same token, social conservatives should see that the transhumanism in which many AI developers believe is even more repugnant to the way of life they seek to protect than is transgenderism. You think? Anyone who believes in the value of capitalism, as American conservatives do, should look on AI skeptically. The tech right's leading figures floridly hate commies and paint opponents of AI as just the latest installment of a perennial anti-capitalist resentment of success. Yet the closer we get to the AI corporation's explicit goal of superintelligence, the greater the likelihood that capitalism as we know it vanishes. One can see this in the promises from Musk himself, that once AI imminently transcends human capacities, most people will need to be sustained by universal basic income, or the various suggestions that when it becomes economically inefficient to continue with human labor, the government should enforce a jobs guarantee to make sure we can all continue to earn a paycheck. In such projections, we see a revival of the formative promise of socialism. Government provision of work, irrespective of market demand. In either case, a bedrock of the capitalist system, that the principal portion of economic activity is carried on via a free market in labor, with remuneration set by the market, will cease. Market-based wages and salaries would cease to be the most important vehicle for the distribution of income. That would be the death knell of capitalism. There's another reason that one hears only of fully automated luxury communism. It's because fully automated luxury capitalism is a contradiction in terms. Sounds like the future's going to be communist, guys. Even according to Elon Musk. The tech right seems to think that economic growth and economic freedom march in tandem, but this is just a pious incantation. The idea that economic development always favors freer markets is historically untrue. Marx was wrong in the mid-19th century to expect that capitalism would imminently fall to proletarian revolution. But he was not wrong in expecting that the great increase in the scale of industry would mean that the laissez-faire of early industrialism would not be sustained. In every country that has modernized, economic growth has involved an increase in state intervention. That's a good point. As the society gets richer, the relationship between different interests becomes more complicated, and the potential for catastrophically harmful economic activity grows. And the state has to grow, and indeed historically has grown to meet these challenges. To listen to the tech right, you would think that Marx and his disciples predicted that capitalism would simply sputter out impotently. But in fact, early Marxists argued that capitalism would be destroyed by its own success. It would become too productive to persist. Ironically, America's loudest anti-communist might wind up proving Marx right. Indeed, Marx thought that the perfection of machines, the goal of AI entrepreneurs, was one way capitalism might come to an end. As he wrote in the late 1850s, to the degree that large industry develops, the creation of real wealth comes to depend less on labor time and on the amount of labor employed than on the power of the agencies set in motion during labor time. whose powerful effectiveness is itself, in turn, out of all proportion to the direct labor time spent on their production, but depends rather on the general state of science and on the progress of technology or the application of this science to production. Real wealth manifests itself in the monstrous disproportion between the labor time applied and its product. Labor no longer appears so much to be included within the production process. Rather, the human being comes to relate more as watchman and regulator to the production process itself. The surplus labor of the mass has ceased to be the condition for the development of general wealth. With that, production based on exchange value breaks down. Wow. Here, Marx is predicting that capitalism will end when technology has attained such sufficiency that all jobs except those of, to use today's parlance, humans in the loop, have disappeared. Interesting. Marx's vision is not far from the one industry leaders such as Sam Altman and Dario Amodei have enunciated. Amodei's essay Machines of Loving Grace, for instance, has nothing to do with the history of liberal, capitalist, or conservative ideas, but instead belongs squarely within the socialist tradition. It depicts a world from which the essential features of liberal capitalism, competition, the striving to acquire through one's own efforts, the postponing of short-term interests to long-term projects, the work ethic, deliberation among contending interests for how to address externalities are absent. Our cares have vanished. Differences in skill, devotion, and frugality make no mark on our fates, since the machines provide everything. It is a vision of perfectly equal ease. Indeed, our very individuality seems to have vanished. Yeah, it's easy to say that. It's just about your individualism and your work ethic. Come on, that's not being honest about the system. Because if that was really what it's about, then how did we get in this position in the first place with these guys who apparently they're saying want to destroy capitalism are the biggest capitalists, the most successful, the hardest working, right? The most talented. If that's what you're going to base society on, and you're going to make it so that some people basically have shitty lives because they were born in a weird situation with no effective education to compete effectively, then this is what you get. Since everyone is a recipient of constant bot-based welfare, it's unclear how the experiences through which personality is forged would take place. Yeah, it's like this person doesn't really understand how personality actually is forged. Amodei's objective of a country of geniuses in a data center that will perform unimaginable feats without needing to contribute anything is fully automated luxury communism taken to a hitherto unimagined extreme. It is the apotheosis of the long literature of utopian socialism, and is an open announcement of our replacement as world-making agents. Well, buckle up. That's all I can say. If the right accuses the left of seeking to import a new electorate because they've tired of the native one, then how much louder should be the condemnation of a project that explicitly seeks to found a new world in which we will no longer need to abide the decisions made by the imperfect intellects of our frail species. What? One can think as well here of the greatest political philosopher of private property, John Locke, for whom property was justified by the fact that the earth was not spontaneously bountiful, and we instead had to work to find prosperity. Again, don't understand the actual history of humanity. Indeed, most Christian thinkers have held that in the Garden of Eden there would have been no private property. Capitalism and private property find their fundamental justifications in their claim to be the superior way of managing production and distribution in conditions of scarcity, which make human industriousness and intelligence central factors in the production of wealth. What the AI apostles promise us A world in which what humans do matters less and less for the planet's economic output, asymptotically approaching zero, is a kind of machine-based Eden. Perhaps some find this outcome desirable, but it is the antithesis of capitalism. A system in which effort is completely detached from reward. Reward. Isn't that interesting? Reward. Being able to exist is a reward. Means the economy has become a mere game of entitlements and incumbency. That's an unattractive proposition and certainly not a capitalist one. People do not just want to be rich, they also want valuable things to do with themselves. They want their efforts to make a difference, even if a small one, in the shape of their world. Well, the vast majority of people in our capitalist world don't have that luxury. We are now well past the level of general wealth at which John Maynard Keynes presumed we would have more or less stopped working, but we have not. Striving, the urge to make something of oneself, the creative spirit that underlies even much of the drudge work in entrepreneurial and professional occupations. These continue to animate millions of our fellow citizens, even as we have become unimaginably richer along many dimensions than our forebears were. It's easy for someone to say who just writes for a living. All right. I'm not against capitalism, per se, but there's a lot of justification as well in here. Even the best case scenario of artificial superintelligence, government distributed UBI, should be dismissed as inconsistent with our dignity as a species whose telos is to produce and achieve rather than merely to consume. If capitalism won't survive artificial superintelligence, neither will supposed American value, individualism. That might be right. AI is a flattener and a homogenizer. Its answers are grounded in statistical inferences about likely, which is to say average human speech given the context. Indeed, when one looks ahead at generations who will have lacked a pre-AI formation, it is difficult not to be filled with despair. There is no greater threat to the individual's intellectual sovereignty and thereby to his moral integrity than reliance on AI chatbots. I have been troubled to learn of students who are reliant on AI not just for factual information, but for matters that go to the very heart of one's personality. I teach political philosophy, a discipline that raises questions that no one can answer but oneself. Hold on. This is a political philosophy teacher? Gregory Conti. At Princeton. He's a professor at Princeton. It's like all just theoretical, you know? The drudgery of and the toil that one experiences when you've the cracked fingers from working in the fields. This is part of human dignity. You know, I can relate to it as a Princeton professor. Still, I agree with most of this because he's not wrong. Okay. Sorry, I can just read faster to myself. Okay. What was I going to show? Oh, I was going to look up that thing Katie mentioned. Where is it? Jeffrey. Let's see here.
You still have friends who work for the big AI companies.
Yeah.
What are they telling you about what they're seeing and what their fears are?
I think the scariest thing I hear from people working inside of the companies is that they think they are on the way to recursive self-improvement.
Oh, well, there you go.
The point where AI agents are writing all of the code and doing all of the research for the next generation of AI agents. You have really smart AI, making smarter AI, and so on. And that's a runaway process, potentially. And they think that they're going to be able to do it. They're like, we are not that many years, maybe 1, maybe 2, maybe 3 years from that process happening. That terrifies me.
What are the repercussions of that?
I mean, it's a little bit like asking, what are the repercussions of Homo sapiens coming on the scene in a world of monkeys and apes? How are the chimpanzees supposed to forecast what will happen to the whole Earth once you have a species that can use tools and language and fire and build skyscrapers? I'm like, I do not know what AI agents that are a lot smarter than us will be able to do, but we are talking about not just agents running on computers talking to us via screens. We are also talking about robots. We are also talking about drones. We are talking about massive impact on the physical world, on the environment, and potentially our ability to survive.
If you want to try to imagine it, just read a bunch of sci-fi. It's like, it just helps you stretch the imagination. Like, agentic super intelligence that has control of drones and robots. You say, we'll keep control of it. Who is we? Who is the we that will have control of it? Is there even one person on this planet that you think is super ruthless and wants to run the world and control everybody just because of some desire for power? Would you trust that that person won't get a hold of it?
On Earth.
So back to those insiders you might talk to. Can you tell us, are they scared? And if they are, how do they justify what they continue to do?
I think many of them, I think the majority of the people I know are scared. And everyone else is at least anxious. Is at least like... this.
Imagine going to work every day like, I can't believe what I'm doing. What the fuck?
This is pretty terrifying. People are all...
But the salary is so good, the benefits.
So hopeful. People are also like, you know, this could be really good if it goes well, but people do not assume it will go well. I think the people I know in particular are the ones working on safety or security, and they are trying to figure out how to make sure that the AI agents end up pursuing goals that are like well aligned with human goals and human values, and make
well aligned with human goals and human values. Let's see. Do humans generally agree on human values? Depends on how you look at it. Benevolence. Oh, really? Those who are close to you. Do all humans value all other humans equally? No. Humans do not value all other humans equally. So what does it mean to align an AI with human values? Aligning an AI with human values means deciding whose values the AI should prioritize, how it should balance conflicting morals, and how it should behave when humans disagree. Ensuring an AI system acts safely, ethically, and usefully rather than pursuing its program goals in ways that harm humanity. But all of humans don't value all other humans equally. Do you see the inherent paradox Yes. Okay. I got it, guys. I hit the exact central paradox of AI alignment. If an AI's goal is to be aligned with human values, it faces a logical impossibility. It cannot simultaneously mirror actual human psychology while upholding universal ethics. Human psychology, which values people unequally, while upholding universal ethics, which values everyone equally. The developers are trapped in 3 specific layers. Let's see what that is. The mirror versus the ideal. If an AI perfectly copies how humans actually behave, it will naturally prioritize the rich over the poor, the local over the distant, the in-group over the out-group. It becomes a mirror of our own evolutionary tribalism. But if the AI is programmed to follow idealized philosophies, like treating every human life with identical worth, it ceases to be aligned with actual human behavior. The kidney allocation. The actual human value. Okay. The geopolitical weapon paradox. If we could program an AI to value all humans globally, the human building it... even if we could, the humans building it do not. AI development is currently treated as a national security race between superpowers, like the US and China. No nation will fund a multi-billion-dollar AI system if that AI values the citizens of an adversary exactly as much as its own citizens during a geopolitical conflict. Ultimately, aligning AI with human values is a marketing euphemism. In reality, engineers are not aligning AI with existing human nature. They are trying to force AI to act like the perfect, unbiased versions of ourselves that we have never actually managed to be.
Making sure that these agents also don't get stolen and repurposed for other things.
I wonder what you think might be the biggest misconception that people have about where AI is at the moment.
People think that AI won't be able to be smarter than humans because it's only trained on human data. But this isn't true anymore. AI models are not just trained on human data, they're also trained via reinforcement learning.
This is an interesting point, actually. Human data versus actually going out and gathering data, not just stuff that we've produced. That's a cool point.
And that means that AI researchers will give these models a whole bunch of different difficult questions and challenges and problems, and the AI models will then explore and come up with new solutions and learn from trial and error and exploration. And that means that they can learn to be better than humans at any given domain.
So they're not just learning from us anymore, is the point. They've already learned all that.
If they have a good enough environment to explore and learn via that process.
You study the risks around loss of control. What are your concerns in this area at the moment?
My biggest concern is that AI companies, and especially governments, sort of have no plan for how we will manage creating a new type of life, species, whatever you want to call it. But AI agents that are much smarter than humans. There's no good plan. Because once you have these agents that are strategic, that can make plans, it's pretty clear that they will end up with all of the power in the world and not humans. Either because they're extremely persuasive, either because they are able to economically dominate, run companies.
Obviously. Okay, I'll show you one more thing before I call it a night. Oh, this was too weird not to share. This is Elon Musk's daughter? Daughter, perhaps?
I'm here to talk to you about a very important issue. We need more gays in government. We need more gay people. We need them. We need more gay people. And no, not for any admirable reason. like wanting equality or representation, or maybe to do something about the furthering wealth divide. No, none of that. The reason we need more gay people is because everyone is chopped. Everyone is chopped.
What does that mean? I know what I think it means. What does chopped mean? Unattractive and ugly. See, this is the problem with leftism, dude. It's like, it's so fucking self-contradictory. How are you going to be like, everyone, you know, don't judge people and love is love and, you know, embracing diversity and shit, and then make a joke like that of like, everyone in government's ugly. That's why we need more gays, because they're ugly. But don't shame people for how they look and what they can't control. Like, they're, you know, like, and then look at the people in this fucking audience. Look at her. What was this one? What is that one? What is that? Okay, you're sitting here making a joke about everyone is chopped, and they cut to this person. Ha-ha! Yes, all the chopped, ugly people in government. Like, I mean, I'm not saying I'm some kind of beauty queen myself, but that's not my point. Like, they're the ones making the joke. What is this guy? Is that a man? I don't know. I don't want to assume. Is it a man? It might be. It might be a woman. It might be a transgender. He looks very uncomfortable. Very uncomfortable. That's a very uncomfortable expression there. He's like, huh, I'm smiling in agreement, but I don't agree. And she loves it. This one right here, she loves it. And this one too. I'm going to call that one the professor. That's HR. And this is the professor. That guy, I feel like he looks like a chef. That's a chef. The chef, HR, and the professor. Asian guy over here. Oh, we got a brother over here with a bow tie, all right, up in the corner. They had to put him back in the corner. They didn't want to be near him. And then sort of kind of Arab looking dude, I guess. He doesn't look like he actually thinks it's funny. He's like, yeah, okay, I'll agree because it's I guess a woman speaking, so I must agree. Also, aren't there plenty of gay people in government already?
Thank you. I will speak on it. Thank you. Thank you. Let me lay out the problem. Our country's image on the world stage is a disgrace. Why is this something we need to address? There are quite a few reasons. For one, it would give young people something to aspire to. We want young people to be involved with their local...
The professor agrees. Having more attractive people in government would give them things to aspire to. That's a nod from the professor.
Want young people to be involved with their local communities. Who is going to aspire to looking like bleached cauliflower? Nobody. Secondly...
Bleached cauliflower?
A lack of respect. Other countries would respect us if we were more... Oh, thank you.
That's what we need, guys. We just need we need our country to run by gay men. I guess, and women too.
Yeah. We are dealing with bad hair and makeup across the board. It is a clown show where all the clowns are ugly. Which is kind of a normal clown show now that I think about it, but like, whatever. Whatever. We live in an era where visuals, stage presence, and charisma matter much more than any like actual like policy or like idea or like anything like actually of value. We need to adapt to the times. I'm here to...
Okay. Somebody was joking about this. I saw it said... It just looks like Elon Musk talking. Where was that post? I don't see it. People are ruthless. How did he get breasts? That's so fucking weird, dude. So weird. Is that true that he had twins? I wonder if that's actually true. Here's what he says.
I was essentially tricked into signing documents for one of my older boys, Xavier. This was before I had really any understanding of what was going on, and we had COVID going on, and so there was a lot of confusion.
Is this guy a genius? One of the most brilliant minds ever to grace the planet. And he's like, I was basically tricked. I mean, it was COVID. Nobody knew what was going on. Like, you know how like you were just walking around in a total brain fog literally all day, and people would just shove paperwork in front of you and you would be confused and you would just sign it. Like I do that all the time when I'm running my multi-billion-dollar, trillion-dollar companies. Sometimes I get confused and I sign things. Like, I mean, it happens all the time, right?
I was told, Xavier might commit suicide if he did.
That was a lie right from the outset.
Incredibly evil, and I agree with you that the people that have been promoting this should go to prison. So I was tricked into doing this, it wasn't explained to me that puberty blockers are actually just sterilization drugs.
It wasn't explained to him. Like, this guy can't fucking do some research? He can't do what everybody else could fucking see? Like, holy shit, man. I think he might be retarded.
Anyway, and so...
So, it was COVID. It was confusing. We were all confused. We signed paperwork. That was, I was tricked. I was told he was going to commit suicide. And, I just thought puberty blockers were probably okay. Why would you even agree to it at all? Like, well, he's gonna kill himself if he doesn't have puberty blockers. Like, you weren't like, dude, okay, fuck this. Dude, what the hell, man?
Oh, I lost my son, essentially.
He lost his son, but he gained a daughter. It's supposed to look on the bright side.
They call it dead naming for a reason.
Yeah,
All right, so the reason it's called dead naming is because your son is dead. So my son Xavier is dead. Killed by the woke mind virus.
He's not actually dead. He's actually still alive. He's just adopted a new identity. I wonder if he's actually tried to, like, talk to him. I wonder if he's ever tried talking to him and be like, hey, look, I'm totally fine if you want to be the way you are. It's okay. I love you. It's not a big deal. It doesn't hurt me. But, like, also, why is the kid doing it? What's going on there? Like, is it like some kind of revenge against his dad? I don't know. I mean, I'm not there, but there's got to be a lot going on.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
I can't imagine what that would be like.
Yeah.
You can't imagine it.
So,
yeah, and there's lots of people in that situation now.
Right.
It's not pretty, and lots of demolished kids.
Yes.
Yeah, well, that's a good reason.
Quit interrupting a trillionaire, Jordan Peterson. You're talking to a trillionaire, so you need to shut up and let him finish a sentence. Just sorry, guys. Sorry. I get a little ticked off when people interrupt trillionaires.
Be the final straw. All right, so let's...
So I vowed to destroy the woke mind virus after that. And we're making some progress.
That's got to be the most psychotic look I've ever seen. Look at that.
All right, so let's...
So I vowed to destroy the woke mind virus after that. And we're making some progress.
What if that was his primary motivation for developing all this AI and data centers? Was literally just to mind control everybody to never, ever, ever be transgender. And the robots. Oh, that's why he wants to get rid of human surgeons. He's talking about, like, we'll have the robot surgeons be the best surgeons, so you won't have to rely on experts anymore. He just hates the experts.
join the club.
You joined the club. You're talking to a trillionaire, bro. God, the lack of decorum. Infuriating. What if the actual origin story of Vivian Musk was that she read the Culture series because her dad was so into it, and she thought that it would like make him feel proud? Wouldn't that be sad? Okay, well, that's all I got for tonight. That was just a really weird ending. I mean, dude, like, it just shows you we cannot just put our trust into these super intelligent rich people like they're gonna solve all our problems. They're fucked up. Gotta change what's in here. You know where I'm pointing. What did Trump even say? Trump didn't even say anything because the speech is on Thursday night. The post I saw said Trump was speaking at 9 p.m. Eastern. Didn't have a day. I saw a bunch of posts and I'm like, okay, he's going to do some address. It was supposed to be about evidence that there was foreign interference in the 2020 election. And it's crazy because all the MAGA people are like, yeah. I'm like, but you said it was bullshit when it was 2016, and that's what the other side said as to how Trump won. But now suddenly it's like, yeah, there was definitely interference in 2020, but not the other times. That was all bullshit. But the intelligence agencies, you can't trust them. It was just all these intelligence agencies saying it. But Trump's going to have the CIA director, Radcliffe, apparently there with him at the speech to talk about how there was foreign interference in 2020. Dude. And then the rumor that I'm hearing is that this is a rumor, they're going to announce there's 2, I think, senators on the Democrat side that shouldn't be in the Senate. Either congressmen, senators, I can't remember. I think it's senators. Because of foreign interference. So would that be fucking wild if they remove these senators? I don't know if he can even do that. Or if they then use this as a pretext to argue that he should be president again. That would be crazy. And then he goes into his White House ballroom and just goes in there and never comes out. Whew. That would be weird. Yeah. Okay, that's it from me tonight. Bye, everybody. Bye, Katie. I'll see you in a minute. Bye, everyone. See you tomorrow night. Bye.